hey, I've known you for 3 seconds. Will you sign my contract? Is probably not the best approach.
That is not the way to do this, okay? If you're watching this, don't be fooled by the fact that this guy didn't capsize the call and hang up on her.
Ask better questions. Whenever you ask better questions, you're going to get better answers.
Those are definitely not good practices. Cash call, everybody. Dale Archdeacon, Brian Curtis, back again. Oh my God, I can't wait to show you guys this call. I actually have a really good call today, Brian. You know, it's rare when we get a call where you're like, oh my God, that was all great. Check this out. Use this as a training example. And you know, so many people frequently in my training company, we play bad calls, right? Mm-hmm. Or we play their bad calls and we help them fix what they're doing. And they're like, no, just give me examples of good calls. And I'm like, first of all, it's hard enough just to get examples of calls. To like find the needle in a haystack where somebody did the things right is so hard to do. So it's nice when you get one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy that sometimes we just don't actually ever listen to anything good. So I love that you brought some. I didn't, by the way. I did not bring a good call today. So, but you know, it is nice. Like, it is proof that you can actually get better and do the stuff that you and I talk about. And that's what's exciting to me anytime I see stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited to listen to this call, and then I'll have a little contrast with my call.
So I'm going to play this one. This is actually a Zillow Flex call. We were working with this team to develop a good way of introducing the buyer-broker relationship agreement that everybody has to get signed, right? So we're going to hear a really good example of how to do that in this call. So I'm super excited about it.
Thank you. We're taking you to a him now.
Hello, this is local realtor. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Looks like you inquired about a property.
Yes, I did.
And you were wanting to view that today around 2:30 p.m.?
Yeah, we could do that.
Alrighty, I just want to request with the seller, if for any reason that doesn't work for them, is there an alternative time?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty open all weekend. So we actually live in the neighborhood. We currently rent. So we love the area to stay close by. So, you know, honestly, whenever, because we live so close.
Okay, that's awesome. Have you spoke with a lender yet or got that process started at all?
Now, we teach not to do that. So I would say that's the one part that I would critique, is not interrupting with the lender part. So just know that that's a critique that I wouldn't put in there. So I'm going to keep listening so we can get to the part where he drops the BBA.
So we actually are reaching out today. I used to work in mortgages and I originated mortgage loans. So I know how that process is. So we are going to meet with them. We just this has been like a spur of the moment thing. So we were like, well, we want to look at the house and just kind of see if it will fit our needs and everything like that before we dive too far deep into things. But yeah, we and saw that it had been sitting on the market for a little bit of time, and just wanted to get in and take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get that request put in. With that being said, though, how familiar are you with the changes in the way agents are allowed to show homes on the MLS now?
So it's been a hot minute.
Sorry to interrupt. There was a few changes that occurred as of July 1st. Basically, so you haven't purchased before?
No.
Okay, so basically now it's the same as it was before, but now we have to have a buyer agency disclosure signed before we can go into the property. It basically just outlines how long we're going to work together and how I get paid if you decide to move forward on the property.
Okay.
And is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
So in there, we heard a very simple explanation of what it is, right? And he used the question that we do, which is like a pre-framing question. How familiar are you with what real estate agents have to do now in order to show any home list on the MLS, right? So that prepares them for it and kind of persuades them at the same time. And then he just explains, and he called it a disclosure. We have to have a disclosure signed, and I'm paraphrasing because this is what we teach. I have to have a disclosure signed that says what happens if you purchase this home, how much I get paid, and how long we would work together. And he said, is that okay with you? Which I wouldn't have asked that way. I would have said, does that make sense? Or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, those little tiny tweaks, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Is that, no. It has to be okay with you because that's the way it's going to be. Does it make sense to you versus is it okay with you?
Right. The other thing I would add is I've been trying to get people to identify how it's a benefit for the buyer, because and I don't have a big long pitch, but I would say, real estate was kind of confusing the way that we used to do it. It wasn't always very transparent. So as of, in this case, it's July 1st, and my market's August 17th. That's, so as of August 17th, we are now required to do a disclosure for you to make sure who represents who and how this works in our market. So, if you have any questions about that, I'll answer that. But ultimately, that's what everybody is having to do before they look at a house. And it discloses how I get paid. It discloses who represents who. It's a very simple form, and I'd be happy to go over it. And, at the end of the day, everybody is required to sign it before seeing a house now. Does that make sense to you? Bam, there we go. And so that's the only thing I would say, because here's a sad reality, Dale, and you've been around like me for a long time. Real estate agents are not as long as me. I know I'm the old man, but real estate agents are not necessarily known for being trusted. Like there was that report that came out a few years ago, and it showed us we were just above used car salesperson. So what I'm trying to say with that is, like, look, our industry as a whole, not me, I've always been trustworthy, but our industry as a whole was kind of put into question. And so because of that, we're trying to be more transparent so that people can really understand what's going on. Doesn't that sound like something that's a benefit to you? I literally want it to be a benefit to them that they have to sign my paperwork, which they should have signed 2 years ago anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. We just want to drop it simply. Don't overcomplicate it. Make it easy. Just drop it in there. It needs to be matter of fact. And with that positioning question, right, where we're saying all agents have to do this in order to show homes on the MLS, it really kind of explains you don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. This is how it works.
One of the things also, I've not been hearing a ton of objections. Have you been hearing objections to people signing that?
So the only objections that I've been hearing are, I want to work with my friend, right? Or I want to work with so-and-so. So that's one.
That's the same as before, though, realistically, right?
Yeah, the same as before, really. I signed one with another agent. Do I have to work with them, or what happens now, right? So that's another one. Honestly, haven't heard much pushback at all, frankly. And a lot of it, a lot less than I thought too. What I've noticed is a lot of it, in a lot of cases, is actually manufactured by the agent and the way that they present it. I want to tell you this, Brian. This guy that we just listened to, who did an excellent job of getting her through the conversation and then dropping this, the way this guy first started when we were working with that team is the call would come in and he'd say, "Oh, hey, looks like you're interested on this property. Are you aware that we have to sign an agreement now, a buyer agency agreement, in order to show any properties?" I was like, whoa, dude, that is not the way to do this, okay?
Yeah.
So, shouldn't be a surprise that his win rate has gone way up now as a result of using much better approach in scripting.
Yeah, and I know that you teach similar thing, but to me, step one is always rapport. We've got to build rapport. Hey, I've known you for 3 seconds. Will you sign my contract? Is probably not the best approach. I'm not signing a contract with somebody who was on the phone with me for 30 seconds. So, yeah, we want to build some trust. We want, know, like, and trust is what we said for years. And, spend a few minutes building rapport, which is what he did. He did good discovery, and he went down that path. And to your point, it was an excellent call. It was interesting to me that this person hadn't bought a house before. I don't know why, but because the fact they'd work as a mortgage loan officer. And, she's like, it's been a hot minute, which I thought was an interesting way to put that. But it's, I thought overall he did a great job. And, there's things we could go and maybe do better, but, and that's art is all it is. This was great, done well. And it's nice to see that there's people out there who can just make a phone call without making it a mess.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be quite as scary as everybody thinks that it is. And what I find with this is the less you make of it, the easier it is. If you don't make it a big deal, it doesn't have to be a big deal. Let the consumer make it a problem or make it a big deal, and then deal with it, right? Just make it super simple, matter of fact.
Yeah. I'm going to play my call here in a second, but what this really reminds me of is I got frustrated for a while, and I know I'm not the only person, but we're getting a lot of objections on commissions. I kept hearing commission objection. And so I went back and I thought about, because this was after I was out of production. I'm like, what did I do? And here's what I did. I simply stated it like a fact, just like this guy did with the buyer side. My commission, this is literally was my commission pitch when I would sit down in front of you. So Dale, we charge 6% commission, 3% goes to any buyer who were to any buyer's agent who would buy your house, and 3% goes to us. That was my entire pitch. And I stated it like it was just, of course you're going to accept this. Everybody accepts this. This is standard practice. And I know, again, lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. There was never an official standard commission. I'm just saying I always use 6. So there was a standard commission for me. I just couldn't tell everybody else in my market they had to do that. But when you say things with confidence and you say them matter-of-factly, people, generally speaking, accept them. There's exceptions to that. There's that small percentage of people who want to ask every question under the sun, and I may not work with them. I don't know about you, but those are the kind of people who I got fed up with and I just moved on to somebody else. So, but confidence is so important. And it's more important on the phone, I think, than in person, because I don't have my body language in person. I can't read their body language in person. So I need to be really confident and focused. And, it comes down to knowing what to say. And I think this guy did a great job.
Agreed. Same way, just matter of fact presented. And, I find it odd when people say, or, they look at commission objection. There's a lot in that, right? So you've got people that might ask, is that negotiable? Can we reduce it? Can you do any better on that number? All the way up to, well, this person said they were going to do it for X. If you won't match it, I'm going to work with them, right? There's a whole lot of range of intent and seriousness or lack thereof around the question or the assertion or the, insistence or however it shows up. And you just have to learn how to deal with it in those different contexts. So it's not always an objection. It's.
Yeah. Here's something that's interesting, and I haven't heard this yet, but I've got to believe it's starting to come. It's going to start to come. Objections to the buyer agent commission. In other words, okay, so you're going to charge me 3%. What about 2.5%? And I think that's some objections we're going to start to see over time. Right now, we haven't seen them, but.
You mean objections from the buyer to the buyer agent?
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Of course that'll happen, because if you have a buyer who ends up talking to a couple of different agents, it's like anything else, man. Listen, the first roofer who answers my call and shows up at my house and gives me an estimate that doesn't look like it's crazy, I'm lazy and I'm going to take it. Now, maybe if I've got some extra time on my hands, I'll maybe call a couple of other roofers and try to get them out there to compare the quote. But, in reality, man, if that number looks okay and I'm okay with it, we're going with it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And, there's different groups of people there are people who behave differently than Dale and I. We know that. But yeah, we're just like, it's costing me money to interview roofers. I'm not interested. I'd be the same way with real estate agents. If I was in a different industry, because God knows I can't work for anybody else, so I'd have to work for me. So I'm not going to waste, I make X number of dollars an hour. And hell, if I interview 4 people, I've lost money. Because I could have taken that 4 hours and, made up the difference. And, I can see me saying this, are you really willing to work with someone who's a little bit inferior for less than 1% of the purchase? For a 0.5 point, you're going to go and work with somebody. And here's my question. Why don't they value themselves more? And then if you're going to say something like that, by the way, you got to shut up. Because here's what most agents do with that. Why won't they value themselves more? Let me tell you why I value myself more. No. When you ask a question, let them answer it. Let it sit in. And I think it can be literally that easy. And I haven't seen the objections a lot yet, but they've got to be coming. So.
Yeah, they will. They're the same thing. It's just a different context.
I've got a good call for us that we're going to listen to, and we'll get a little bit of feedback on it. And, it's interesting to me how people, they don't get in charge. And to me, that's what this call, a big part about it is. Get in charge, get in front of what's going on. Don't let the buyer/client control the conversation. It's your job to be in charge. And so that's one of the biggest things that I see here. And I think it cost this agent, this call ends up being 10 minutes long. We're not going to listen to the whole thing. And it could have ended a lot shorter and been a lot more efficient. And so at the end of the day, the person got a client, but they didn't get them in the way that I would have gone about it. So, and it starts with the very front end as we listen to the intro. So I'm going to hit play.
Hello.
Hey, just following up with you because it looks like you were looking at some properties online with our website, and I just wanted to see if I could help you out with anything.
No.
You just what I clicked on?
Yeah, so ultimately, there's two things that are going on here. First of all, this wasn't from their website. This was a realtor.com lead, so you didn't even get the lead source right. That seems like a really important, like not an important thing, but it is an important thing because the guy can get confused. Like, I wasn't on your website. What the hell are you talking about? So little things like that. And again, Dale and I have said this 100 times if we've said it once. Learn your intro scripts. Say the same thing every freaking time that you pick up the phone. That way you don't have to, there's no question. There's only like 3 of them at the end of the day that you have to learn. Okay, there's a Zillow/Realtor.com. There's a special one for Flex, and then there's one for basically every other lead as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So
I want to talk about her question. Is there anything, I want to see if there's anything I can help you with. Here's the rule that I teach salespeople. If somebody's coming to you to get something, an answer, information, an action, then you can ask a soft question like, what can I help you with? Can I be of service to you, right? Is there anything I can do for you? You can do that. You can take the soft approach because they want something. Yeah. If you are reaching out to somebody who doesn't necessarily want something from you, have a more powerful question that directs the conversation, right? Are you planning on buying in the near future? Would you accept an offer on your home, right? Those are direct, powerful questions because they aren't asking for something from us. That's just kind of what I teach.
The other thing I would say is this opportunity to just ask a simple either or too, because, you can just say, hey, is this something here's your question. Are you planning on making a move soon? Or are you just browsing? Are you planning on making a move soon? Or are you just window shopping? Here's what people will do. Are you thinking about moving soon? No, I'm good. Like, understand that there's an automated response that people have. Just like when I go to the mall to buy a pair of pants, what am I going to say? The salesperson's going to walk up to me and say, can I help you? I'm just looking. I'm not just looking. I don't go shopping for pants for fun. I just show up, buy a pair of pants and leave. So, and understand there's all these automated responses that people have. So when you ask an either or question, people can't just say no. It doesn't make sense. Would you like to do this or this? No. Okay, well, it's not automated. It requires you to engage your brain. So that is super powerful.
I just got a note that popped up on my thing saying to give you a call. So yeah, it looks like you were looking at like a minute ago.
Okay, so here's another thing. This isn't funny. Sorry, but it's not funny. And we've got to pay attention to that. Like, this guy, I don't know this gentleman at all, obviously, but at the same point in time, don't laugh at something that's not funny. It's not funny, and it feels like the agent got nervous. I don't know what that was, but yeah, it's not good.
It looks like this is a long call, so somehow it continued on, right? So if you're watching this, don't be fooled by the fact that this guy didn't capsize the call and hang up on her, because essentially what I've heard so far is, hey, I'm an agent. I have a weak question for you. Oh, I don't really know why I'm here. I'm kind of wasting your time. So why don't you tell me, consumer, why I should be here? Not a great approach, I would say. But unfortunately, the call continued, or fortunately for you, the call did continue on. But those are definitely not good practices.
Yeah. And again, one of my rules is getting control of the conversation. You're not in the control of the conversation when you're asking weak questions. You're not in the control of the conversation when you're laughing about this. This is not the case.
So, not knowing why you're calling the person.
Yeah. So ask better questions. Whenever you ask better questions, you're going to get better answers.
Right. No, that's kind of weird, but I'm all for it. Look, we're looking for where you out of?
Arkansas. Mm-hmm.
Looking for like a little house, needs fixed with like 5 acres.
Okay.
So if you can pick up the ball.
She got lucky as hell that this guy has absolutely nothing better to do with his life right now than to slowly explain to a complete strange salesperson what he's looking to do.
I might have hung up on him because, oh my God, can you talk just a little bit slower?
Oh man!
But again, New York or Arkansas, these are two different things.
Yeah. So this is like a comedy of errors. It's fantastic.
So you're looking for a little house that's a fixer-upper with 5 or more acres.
Yeah.
Okay.
this has got a two bed, 2 bath. Are you looking for specific bedrooms and bathrooms?
Well, 2, 3 bedrooms would be great. I mean, 1 bath, 2 bath would be even better. I'm kind of shocked at what I'm looking at compared to, I bought a few houses in my time, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's way different than when I started. I'm just looking out there, looking around, most everything I see is.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Hoping to stay close to Northwest Arkansas, or are you willing to kind of go wherever?
No, I'm kind of wherever. It's definitely northern Arkansas, southern Missouri type thing.
Okay.
Or even maybe eastern Oklahoma.
Okay.
And I'm, not to waste your time, I'm just, like I said, pecking and hunting.
Yeah, no, I get it. So usually when I've got a buyer that's not like, because it doesn't sound like you have a real strict timeline of when you need to find something by. You're just like, I've got $160,000. I want to find something. So are you open to mobile homes?
Yeah, I'm not.
So let me talk about why this is good. It's not the best. It's not as smooth as I would like it to be, but let me talk about why it's good. And this is what I'm appreciating about what this agent is doing. She's trying to solve a problem. The guy's got $160,000 cash. Okay. I'm not even sure he can afford to pay attention anymore. Like, that's not a lot of money. Maybe there's a market where $160,000 buys you a nice house, but unless my time machine got fixed, I don't know where it is, right? That's something from 25 years ago.
That geographic area, what's the prices of small houses in that geographic area?
I mean, you might be able to find something for 200 that's livable. Now he wants to fix it up, so probably means he wants to spend about 140, 130, and then take some money and fix it. So what I liked about this, she's like, well, there's nothing. I mean, in my market, I bet you there's 5 houses for sale for 160,000 or less. They exist, but there's probably 5, and that's not an exaggeration, unless I go into mobile homes. Now, I don't like mobile homes. I don't ever want to own a mobile home, and it was a great question. Hey, what about a mobile home? And the guy says, yeah, I might be interested in a mobile home. So one of the things I'll say to all of our listeners is that a phone call is about solving a puzzle, right? And granted, she didn't do amazing lead in. She set herself up to fail, but she made a comeback. She started to ask good discovery questions, and then she actually went in and said, well, I can't find this guy anything he's going to want for $160,000. What can I do? Now, the other thing that people probably don't know is he mentioned, well, I would live in Missouri, southern Missouri, or eastern Oklahoma. Those markets are cheaper. And we're not licensed there. So I would do one of two things with this person. I would say, hey, let's focus on some mobile homes. I'll send them to you. Let's go take a look. Or I would say, hey, why don't I refer you to an agent who's licensed in all 3 areas? Because honestly, it's not something that I necessarily want to deal with. And I know that that's not a great way to, for our audience, but I just wanted to show you that there's always a solution. And she found a solution to the problem. Well, it's not always. There's oftentimes a solution. And sometimes because we get stuck in our head. I'll be honest. I don't know if I would ask this guy if mobile homes would have worked. I probably wouldn't have. And that's why I really like that question and kind of where she went with it. So, again, this was not a call that I'm going to play like yours and brag about it. And at the same time, she kind of stumbled and bumbled on the front end. She actually took over. Is a 3? What do you need? A 2-bedroom? You need a 3. So she started to get down the path of, hey, what do you need? Can I solve it for you? Because here's the other thing. You've seen it happen, Dale. We've had it on this show where people will do discovery for you. In other words, they'll be like, yeah, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, a 2-bath, and this. And that's actually okay. But at the same point in time, you're not in control of that conversation. I would rather say, hey, Dale, tell me about the house that you're looking for. How many bedrooms are you looking for? 3. Great. How many bathrooms are you looking for? What's your price range, and going down through it that way instead of letting the consumer do it, because 2 things happen when the consumer does it. First of all, they're in charge of the conversation. And then second of all, they don't always give you all the information, and now you got to ask, and it can be really awkward. Be in control, do the discovery yourself is much more powerful than letting them, even if they start to give, hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom. Perfect. That's awesome. We have those. We have 3 bedrooms here. Let me ask you a couple other questions. So I just grab control of that conversation versus just letting the person give it back to you. So,
yeah, agreed. And I like the problem solving thing. I was just coaching a client's ISA today. and I'm listening to the ISA's calls. And the problem is that the ISA was accepting the scenario when a buyer or seller would say, I'm not selling for these reasons, or I'm going to wait to sell or buy until this time for this reason, or I'm going to do this first and then this other thing. And what the ISA was not doing is the ISA was really kind of looking for those people who said, oh yeah, I want to sell now, and yeah, I'll talk to you about selling, or yeah, I want to buy now and I'll talk to you about buying. And I said, listen, the percentage of those people is pretty low.
You're going to go out of business if that's the only people you work with.
Exactly. And so I said, listen, you, on every single interaction that you have, you're a problem solver. I said, when do you want them to buy or sell a house? And eventually the ISA said, now. And I said, great. Yes, you want them to buy or sell a house now. And if they can't buy or sell a house now, when do you want them to buy or sell a house? And the ISA finally came up with sooner, right? Good. Yeah, sooner, either now or sooner. So here's what you have to do with every single conversation. You need to figure out, what scenario can I create in which you would be willing to accept an offer, sell your house, or buy a house now or sooner? That's what you have to be doing in every single conversation, just like this agent was trying to do in that call, right? Shit, we only have 160 to spend. One solution is we buy cheaper stuff. Hey, would you buy cheaper stuff, right?
Yeah.
For this scenario, another solution might be, hey, would you spend more money? How about a small loan? Are you willing to take out a small loan that you could pay out over maybe a couple of years if you could get a really great house where you wanted to be, right? That's another solution. So when you're having the conversations, look for the solutions or the scenarios or the environment that you could create, right? The concepts that you need to put together to see if they would take action. Do it sooner, do it now, do it with you.
Let me just cover, because I know exactly what you're saying, but what's the benefit of waiting? Like, if you guys aren't using the question, what's the benefit of fill in the blank, you're missing the opportunity. Oh, I'm going to wait until next year. Great. What's the benefit to waiting for you? Oh, I think interest rates are drop. Oh, I think this is going to happen. Oh, I think that's going to happen. Okay, I can really appreciate that, because what you're doing is you're actually finding the objection. I want to wait is not the objection.
Right.
Why I want to wait is the objection. And that's what people miss when they get objections. They're like, well, I want to wait until next year. Awesome. Congratulations. I'll call you back in 6 months. No. Oh, because they're going to get me or Dal on the phone between now and then they're going to have their house listed before you even call them back. Yes. So you've always got to look for that. And I think that might be the biggest piece for people to get better, is just look at it as a puzzle. How can I change this person's mind? No, here's the thing. You don't win every time, but there's a sale made on every conversation. I'm sure you've heard that concept before. I believe that. And if and when the person goes, yeah, I really just want to wait until next year, and you go, awesome, that's really great, they won. They sold you on it's better to wait until next year. And unless you go deeper, you don't know if it's a condition or if it's a objection. There are conditions. I want to wait until next year. Why? Well, I started a new job yesterday in a completely different career field, and they won't give me a loan. Okay, that's a condition. I guess we should wait until next year. But I just think it's going to be better next year. That's an objection.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
we've got to get to the heart of that if we want to be more successful.
Agreed. All right, Brian, I feel like they can't handle any more wisdom today.
Well, Dale, as always, I enjoy hanging out, getting to talk about calls and sales, and it's one of my favorite subjects. So I really appreciate you being here today, and thanks so much.
Well, of course. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. Hey, so if you like this training and you want to see how your skills stack up and where you can make improvements to be able to set more appointments, turn more of your leads into closings, click the link in the description to do our skill assessment. So our skill assessment tests you in 4 key areas: your introductions, your objection handling, your value proposition, and your closing skills. So you can jump onto a call with one of our trainers totally free. They will take you through a structured role play where they test you in those 4 key areas and give you immediate feedback on how you can improve what you're doing in your conversations with leads so that you can convert more of them into buyer and seller appointments and ultimately into closings.